grind hard to get ahead. You trying to go backwards.
Feeling like the old me. Feelings from the past, pray the Lord block it all out. I was in love with you.
What's up? What's up? What's up? It's your boy. Can't you tell me to do shit? Hey man, say man, we are lit, eh? Lit through for tease man. Turn up. Today, to motherfucking day. Hey man, say man, we about to turn the fuck up, straight hood and outside shit, man. About to watch they ran $1 million scam while still in prison. Hey man, say man, your boy been gone for a couple of in this stream, but put out 2 videos. You know, sometimes you gotta finesse when you can finesse, man. I ain't got no problem wrong with scams, man. If you can get it how you live it. You dig? Hey man, we about to watch it. Let's go.
Picture this. You're home on a Saturday morning after a long week of work. You'd like nothing more than
get
to
it
relax
how you live it.
decompress.
You make it. You want $1 million
your
scam?
phone rings and the caller ID reads county sheriff's office.
The government runs scams on us 24/7.
That you've missed your mandated jury duty. To make matters worse, there's a warrant out for your arrest. You'd probably want a little.
They take money from us any way they can, shit. So fuck it.
Let's say
we take money from them bitch ass niggas. Here's what it is.
And he unexpectedly obliges.
Just can't get caught.
You're transferred to a police captain who reiterates that your arrest is imminent unless you pay a $1,000 fine. What's your next move? You still suspect it might be a scam, but is $1,000 really worth the possibility of police dragging you from your house in handcuffs?
Hey man, say me, you never know.
This was the exact dilemma that a 50-year-old woman named Cash Miller faced on an otherwise ordinary Saturday morning in 2015.
If it's worth
she
it,
ultimately decided it wasn't worth the risk and ended up sending a $989 MoneyGram to a person who identified himself as Captain Dwight Garrison of the San Diego County Sheriff's Office.
Shit.
Once she sent the wire, Garrison claimed that only some of the money had gone through. He told Cash that she'd need to send another wire transfer to make up the difference, or else she was going to jail. At that point, Cash had had enough. She hung up on Captain Garrison and waited out the weekend, anxiously anticipating the arrival of law enforcement at her doorstep. That never happened. So she followed up with the San Diego County Sheriff's Department the following Monday. It was then that Cash learned what she feared all along. She'd been scammed. Captain Garrison wasn't actually Captain Garrison after all. The person she'd been talking to, the one who'd pried nearly $1,000 from her, was sitting in a jail cell on the other side of the country.
Man.
As it turns out, Cash had been duped by a pair of jailhouse scammers.
You don't steal from the people who don't really have money. You steal from like the big companies.
With a pair of robbery convictions, Lopez was locked up in Georgia's Autry State Prison for 10 years.
But the government don't give a fuck either. They take from anybody.
Also known as Captain Dwight Garrison, was staring down a 40-year sentence of his own after he'd been caught dealing illegal substances. What compelled them to start up their scam? The answer, like most things in life, was money. As you might have guessed, being incarcerated isn't the most lucrative situation to find yourself in. There are very few legal avenues through which inmates can make money, and even the scant opportunities they do have access to ultimately reach few rewards. There are prison jobs, which generally involve menial tasks like cooking, cleaning, and laundry. While an inmate may choose to fill one of these positions just to pass the time, there's very little money to be made in working a prison job. In fact, most of them only pay pennies an hour. As a result, many prisoners rely on the financial support of their family and friends on the outside. Even then,
$20 can last you a whole lifetime in that
aren't
bitch.
the best of terms with their loved ones, so they're not always an available resource either. While inmates at correctional facilities receive some money each month, it's nothing to write home about. The monthly wage they earn is less than the minimum hourly wage in most states. Cash is hard to come by in prison. Due to that financial scarcity, inmates might turn to alternative means of earning their money. In most cases, alternative means illegal. There are far more risks involved in attempting to make money outside the bounds of the law. But as Lopez and Tate discovered pretty quickly, it can also result in much higher returns. The thing that allowed the two scammers to operate their con effectively, even as they sat behind bars, was their access to phones. Smuggled cell phones proved to be the most important tool at their disposal. It's against the law to have a cell phone in prison. Therefore, inmates are forced to use a little creativity to get their hands on them. If you ask Lopez and Tate, though, they tell you it wasn't all that hard to get the cell phones they needed to run their scam. It was as easy as bribing the guards. Prison guards don't pull in the big bucks, especially not in Georgia, where they make between $15 and $20 an hour. Lopez and Tate had some disposable income, and by throwing some of that extra cash the guards' way, they got the cell phone hookup they needed. From the guards' perspective, turning a blind eye to a smuggled cell phone could net them $1,000 in just one day. When one considers their meager salaries, it makes sense why bribery proved to be so effective. However, not all inmates have the money necessary to get the guards on their side. For
Bro,
that
if you
reason,
come in
prisons
jail
have
like
seen all
that,
sorts
bro,
of
you in the
crackpot
big
schemes
boy.
aimed
You
at
killing
sneaking
it.
cell phones inside. For example, the authorities once intercepted a couch about to be reupholstered by a group of inmates receiving vocational training. Inside of the couch, they found 100 phones that had been carefully hidden underneath the
Damn.
cushions. Prisoners aren't shy in their persistent attempts to smuggle in cell phones, which explains why Georgia prisons reportedly seized a total of 22,000
shit.
contraband phones from 2014 to 2015.
Hey, everybody, mama
That's
got a
nearly
phone
one
in the
cell phone
pokey,
for
bro.
every other inmate in Georgia's prison system. Once they had the phones, the guys could operate their secret scam right from their cell. They certainly had enough free time. Lopez was the one who tracked down the individuals they targeted. His method was simple. He'd visit an online real estate marketplace like Zillow and looked up houses listed for millions of dollars. Then he cold called any homeowners in the surrounding neighborhoods. They targeted wealthy people in well-off areas because, as Lopez believed, it's easier to get money from people who have money.
You feel me?
Followed a strict script when
Y'all
conducting the
getting what he
scheme.
can,
Just like
shit.
they did with our old friend Cash Miller, they introduced Lopez first. He posed as the clueless deputy that knew pretty much nothing about the situation. They hoped their victims would eventually ask to speak to a supervisor. That's where Tate came in. He was the sweet talker, and he knew how to manipulate people into handing over their money. Their dumb cop, smart cop blueprint worked wonders, so they kept it up. To make the whole thing even more believable, Lopez
Damn.
used a voice-over internet protocol service to make it look like the caller ID was coming from a local police department.
What the
They also used an
fuck?
app that redirected the call to a call center where they could utilize an automated voice-over service to record whatever message they wanted. When people heard an automated message from the police, their heart rate understandably increased. Phone call after phone
Nigga, you
call,
ain't no
Lopez
pokey
and Tate
nigga. You gotta
successfully
do what you
convinced
gotta do.
people
I ain't gonna
that they
give
had
it
actually
cap.
missed jury duty. Once their victims had bought into the lie that they might get arrested, it wasn't that hard to get them to pay up. They probably would have hung up
Hey, nigga like
immediately
me
if
would have
the
been
people
like,
they
well,
called
that's
knew
another
about
bill
jury
added
duty
on
laws.
to the deal.
The most
Ugly
common
ass.
consequence
Get
for
it
missing
back in
jury duty
blood,
is
bitch.
absolutely
Fuck is you
nothing.
talking
It's
about?
not the best idea to skip out on your court-appointed duty, but the truth is, even if you did, you probably wouldn't get in a whole lot of trouble. There are harsher punishments
And
that
you might get
judges
warrant,
can
and
hand
they might
out to
arrest you
people
for
who
like
skip jury
6
duty.
months.
The penalties vary from state to state,
Well,
and they
jury
also
duty
depend
not
on
at that
how
much.
strict
Nah,
the
hell no.
individual judge chooses to be. There is a small possibility that you'd be issued a bench warrant. That means you'd have to appear before a judge. If that particular judge has other matters to attend to first, you may be taken into police custody in the meantime.
Damn.
That said, you'd know if you'd been summoned for jury duty. Furthermore, you'd be notified before cops came to drag you away in handcuffs.
Yeah.
In short, don't skip jury duty. But if you
They ain't gonna fuck about no
accidentally
damn
miss it,
jury duty.
don't wire
They-
money to anybody claiming the cops are coming to arrest you. Even so,
I think I only
Lopez
bought
and
like
Tate
one
had a
time.
way
That
with
was when I was
words.
in college,
They
and
convinced
that was by
tons of
accident.
people
I don't even know
cops
how I
were on their
voted.
way. Getting people to send the money was
It's
only
that I
half
did
the
my
battle.
background check.
There's
I
still the
voted.
question
I
of what to
voted
do
for
with
who,
all the
bitch?
stolen
All these
funds.
people been
That's
asked
why they
for
recruited
Obama.
the expertise
And I was
of
a little kid when
another
Obama got
fellow inmate
voted.
named Reginald Perkins. Not only did Perkins help supply the money that was used to bribe the guards, but he was also vital in the scammers' effort to launder the money.
Hey man, if
people
you ain't
sent
the
them.
pokey,
In
you been in
jailhouse
that bitch for
terminology,
some years,
Perkins
nigga.
was a washer.
Ain't no, and you might as
He
well
washed
scam,
the dirty
nigga.
money
You
with the
already
help of
fucked.
women he befriended on the
Nigga.
outside. He once bragged that he had 100 women across all 50 states under his employ, which wouldn't be that surprising considering how good he was at laundering money. Perkins sent the details of any money wire to one of his girls, who then converted the payment into 2 or 3 new debit cards. This practice served multiple purposes. Firstly, it distanced the inmates from the fraudulently obtained money as much as possible. Secondly, it ensured that they could access the funds even if the victim decided to cancel the payment. Lopez and Tate could use the money for whatever their heart desired with the debit cards in hand.
Buy
That could
anything,
mean stuff
anything
in
that
the prison
bitch.
store or contraband items like more cell phones. Either way, Perkins' job was done at that point.
Why they
The
got
expert money
like
launderer
another
apparently watched more than
jumpsuit?
$1
Nigga with
million
$1,000
for
like,
Lopez
well, I want
and
that
Tate
jumpsuit.
while operating their scam at Autry. After Cash Miller had
Look at
called the
that shit.
police and learned that she'd fallen victim to the scammers, she filed a detailed criminal complaint against them. It took a little convincing on her bank's part, but she finally got her money back. It seemed like everything was back to normal, and Cash finally moved
Well, a
on
rat?
with her life.
I mean, that's
Then the
a
FBI
lot, though.
called 2 years later. As it turns out, the authorities had been hot on Lopez and Tate's trail for some time. They'd finally built enough of a case to prosecute them, and they wanted Cash to testify against them in court. She said yes without a moment's hesitation. As part of their investigation, the FBI
Hey man, say man, do it at your own risk, you dig?
His job was to collect the details.
If you down bad and you need a way out,
while doing so,
do it at your own risk. You might get locked up in that bitch even more,
the
bitch.
FBI used to support their
your way out might be the way
out.
out.
Indicated that he'd even recorded one of their scam phone calls. They had the scammers dead to rights. 51 people faced criminal charges connected to the scam, including Lopez, Tate, and Perkins. The other 48 were guards, inmates, and civilians who'd aided in the money laundering process.
Man.
Over the next couple of years, most of those charged pleaded guilty, including the two masterminds behind the whole thing. Lopez ultimately testified against those who pleaded not guilty. He ended up getting just 3 years of probation added to his sentence thanks to his cooperation. Perkins and Tate were not so lucky. Perkins had 13 years added to his sentence.
So what the fuck did nigga do? He snitched?
Hell
no snitching, man.
Although prosecutors
so
were happy to smother their scam, their sweeping convictions didn't scare away copycats.
That nigga probably
In 2018, a Georgia inmate was criminally charged for using a smuggled cell phone to pose as a U.S. Marshal. He told people they'd missed jury duty and demanded payment from them, just like the two guys who inspired him. Jailhouse scams aren't exclusive to Georgia either. In 2020, for example, prisoners from California stole upwards of $2 billion in pandemic relief funds from pandemic unemployment assistance.
Where my shit
at? Like Lopez and Tate before them, they used contraband phones to communicate with one another and contact co-conspirators on the outside. It seems as long as inmates have breath in their lungs and years on their
the wrong thing in life.
Just
They didn't get $2 billion,
game the system that locked them up in the first place. Click here to watch one of these next videos. And let us know in the comment section whether or not people should be in prison for illegal substance-related offenses.
Hey man, say man, if you get $2 billion from COVID release funds, bitch, I think I'm doing the wrong thing in life. Hey man, say man, I hope you had a little ass time on this bitch, man. Do it at your own risk. You dig? Hey, hope you fuck with your boy Straight Hood and outside shit. We out this bitch, gang. Deuces, you dig?
Hey, Dad, you know, dog, when we link up, dog, this shit be legendary. You know this instrumental, you the engineer on it, so Kodak everywhere.